This is question 1 of the P1.4 end of chapter test. On screen now is a mark scheme for the question, so please mark your work. If you get the question correct, suggest you move on. If you get parts of the question incorrect, please listen to the rest of the recording to find out how to do the question correct in the future. Not all of part D fits onto the screen, so I'll move part D up in a moment. So you might want to mark part A, B and C now. You might want to pause the recording so you have time to do this. And in a few seconds I'm going to move part D up. So there are all the answers to part D, so please mark part D of this question. As I said before, if you want to find out how to do the question correctly, please listen to the rest of the recording. So for part A of the question, it gives you a list of different energy sources which are used to generate electricity, and asks you which two of the energy sources in the box are likely to be used up first. The correct answers in this question are gas and oil. It's 1 mark for each one being correct. The reason it's gas and oil is because those sources are non-renewable, which is a key word, which basically means they won't, you can't use them forever, they will run out. Whereas the rest of the sources in this question, sun, tides, waves and wind, are all renewable sources of energy and therefore will not run out. This is part B of question 1. It gives you a diagram that shows a geothermal power station. It tells you that hot rocks in the Earth's crust heat water to produce steam. The steam is used to drive a turbine that turns electrical generators. The question it asks you is how is the way in which geothermal power stations generate electricity the same as the way in which a coal power station generates electricity? And the idea there is given from the diagram, and it's the idea that they both use steam to turn a turbine. So if you mention steam, that keyword there, in this answer you get the mark, but the correct answer would be to say that they both use steam to drive a turbine. So they both use steam to drive the turbine. The only thing that's different between a geothermal power station and a coal-fired power station is the way they create steam. Geothermal uses hot rocks, whereas a coal-fired power station uses coal to heat water to make steam. In part C of the question, you are asked to use the graph to estimate the temperature at a distance of 5 kilometers below the Earth's surface. Now, because of the difficulties with the iPad technology, it's quite difficult to draw on the line that I want to here, but I'll just talk you through what I've tried to do. So my first step is to find out where 5 kilometers is. Now you can see that 5 kilometers is going to be halfway between 4 and 6. That's going to take 5 small squares, so count them across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've then gone up from 5 kilometers until I'm at a line of best fit, and then I've moved across the y-axis. Now as you can see, this touches the y-axis at 2 small squares below 150. Now we've got 50 squares over for every 10 little squares, which means that each little square is worth 5. So if I'm 2 times 5 below 50, that means I'm at 140 degrees C. In terms of the marks for the question, if you manage to write 140 degrees C, you get 1 mark. Showing something on the graph or explaining how you've used the graph by explaining that process of going up to meet a line of best fit and then moving across the y-axis, you get the 2nd mark there. Finally, for part D of the questions, it says that scientists have estimated that 1/4 of the world's electricity can be generated using geothermal energy. It asks you to give one reason that scientists might use to persuade government to spend large amounts of money building geothermal power stations. Now, for this question, there's lots of accepted answers, which is why I've brought the mark scheme up, because if you have any of these, you can get the mark. I should very quickly talk you through them. If it's not as a bullet point, you can get the bit that says accepted as well. So first of all is the very large energy source or reserves. So you've got large energy source or reserves. You've got no polluting harmful gases being produced. Now you can name things such as carbon dioxide or carbon emissions or sulfur dioxide or nitrous oxide as well, and that will still get you the mark. You can put that it reduces carbon emissions, or you could say that it doesn't contribute to global warming. That's allowed as well. You can also say there's no fuel needed, so it's a free fuel source. The energy is free, which is what we can move on to next. It can generate energy for a long time. It's renewable, and any idea that the fossil fuels are running out as well. So if you've got any of those marks, they're all worth 1 mark for that question. Unfortunately, you can't have more than 1 mark. That brings us to the end of the question, so thank you for listening.